Welcome to Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the original food service equipment repair podcast built by technicians for technicians. Whether you're on the front lines of repair, keeping the kitchen running smoothly, or just passionate about the food service repair industry, this podcast is your go-to source for expert insights, tech tips, and real stories from the field. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. I got a very special guest, Ice Master Ty from Instagram, but first, level up your maintenance game with Viper products. Refrigeration Technologies brings you Viper, the industry's leading line of cleaning solutions for HVAC and refrigeration. From their non-rinse coil cleaners to heavy-duty degreasers, Viper products are safe, effective, and technician approved. Cut through grime, protect your systems, and boost efficiency like never before. Choose Viper. Your system deserves the best. Available at your favorite local supply house. So what is up, Ty, man? It's been a long time coming to get you on here. You asked about it a while ago, and it got lost in the shuffle. I am probably the worst person to book podcast guests.
Yeah, I'm bad with returning messages too, so not a big deal.
So it's cool to have you on here. I think did we meet up last year at AHR at either – were you at the Tech Awards, weren't you?
I went to the Tech Awards. Yeah, we were running in the same circles, but we didn't meet up.
Yeah, it's a wild time, man. I'm trying to talk to as many people that can, get around and do podcasts. Then trying to herd Jason was a whole nother task. Jason likes to have fun. And that was his first AHR Expo, so he was like a kid in a candy store. Like something big and shiny over here, he was there. Something big and shiny over there. But it's always a good time. So
yeah, that was my first one. It was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm gearing up for the one coming up in a couple weeks. Sending out some emails to my podcast guests and see what they want to talk about, what they want to cover, and just trying to get ready for this upcoming one. I'm excited. We'll be me and Jason and our wives will be at the Tactical Awards. We're still trying to get Rich to at least come down for that, and maybe one day the show. We'll see. He's super busy with that new company he started. He's to the point where he probably needs to bring somebody on, but he just wants to find that right person. So he'll probably just stay home and work, knowing Rich.
Yeah, it's a hard point to be at.
Yeah. So let's get into it, man. You've been doing refrigeration for how long?
About 15 years total. I should be right around 15 years this year. So
sweet. What made you get into it? Like, is that something you always want to do? Did someone in your family do it, or just like, hey, I think I'll try this, and it stuck?
I'm like everybody I talked to. I got into it fairly late. I was in my late 20s. One of my wife's friends' husbands did it. And the more he talked about it, the cooler it was. And the offer was made to leave the career I was in at the time. I was actually running RV shops at the time, doing RV repair. And I came over. I was pretty lucky. In Canada, we have a 4-year apprenticeship program. And the company I worked for was quite large, and they moved you through divisions every year. So you came back from your trade school, and you would go into the ammonia division or into the data room division. So I was lucky to get a big variety to start with, and, just pretty much fell in love with all of it.
That's cool. Yeah. I follow a lot of people on LinkedIn and Instagram that are in Canada, and they're in the trade schools. And it's weird. Like, how long do you guys actually go to school and then you come back and work? Because you're at school for a while. It's not like one day a week or, so many days a month. You're actually there at school for a while. Then you come back and work, correct?
Yeah, you're a full-time student for 2 months, and then you're a full-time technician for 10 months, and you repeat that process for 4 years.
Man, that's pretty cool. So are you paid while you're there, or are you?
No, usually you get a layoff, and then there's a government, basically welfare program that you immediately drop onto that subsidizes your wages. It's about 55% when you're in school.
So it's like the unemployment program we have here. So okay, that makes sense. I was wondering how that worked because it's like, man, how can these people afford to go to school for 2 months? So you got to save a little bit and be prepared to accept that for a couple of months. But in the long run, it's probably worth it.
Oh, in the long run, it's definitely worth it.
So are you a full Red Seal certified then? Is that what it's called? I
am that, sir.
Sweet. I'm always interested in how it's two different things. It's two different worlds up there. I mean, it's not far from here, but down here, you don't have to have none of that stuff. Up there, it's like they take it 100% serious. It's, licensed and everything. And even, companies are licensed here, but not generally individuals. And it's just so weird that, you guys have to be certified to work on, you can be certified up to a certain size, or you can be certified to work on everything. It's kind of wild.
That's mainly on the gas side. So like a gas fitter would be a completely separate ticket above a HVAC refrigeration ticket. So with just a refrigeration ticket, you can work on heating systems up to about 500,000 BTUs. And then after that, you have to have a gas ticket on top.
I don't think I've ever worked on anything at 500,000 BTUs. So
yeah, I got some makeup airs that are in the 6 to 10 million BTU range.
Holy smokes. So you specialize in production, like food production and cold storage facilities, correct?
Yeah, presently, yeah.
So how'd you get roped into that? Just the company you work for just kind of landed you there, or what? I mean, you got to enjoy.
Through my apprenticeship, I really got into like large scale commercial and ammonia refrigeration. And kind of when I J-manned, I had a path to either go into like a DX refrigeration or go into ammonia. And I got picked up by a grocery store company initially. So I spent 6 years working on racks for grocery stores. And once I started having a family, grocery store is great, but it is a whole different game of stress and hours and expectations. And I was able to scale that back a little bit, still work on the same size equipment, but not have the same demands. So, like a food warehouse, 20,000 square feet of frozen takes a long time to heat up. The manufacturing floor is not operating during the night, so you don't have to worry about maintaining temperatures. Like there's a lot less of a panic on the equipment, but I just really like the big stuff, and it's worked out well for me so far.
That's cool. I've done some work, not refrigeration work, but I've done some work in like some food production facilities where this place made like the grab and go sandwiches you find like at a gas station, because they're pre-made. And they ship them there and then they run them through a speed oven or whatever, heat them up and sell them. And they built one here in Indy, and we went in there and we installed some big giant conveyor flight dish machines, some ovens. We did all kinds of stuff, and it was cool to work in until they opened up, and then you realize that you got to wear this suit, you got to walk through this chemical, you got to like screw this, man.
Yeah, I bought balaclava beard nets because I just hated wearing the 2-piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the procedures at all the different places you got to learn, and where you can go and where you can't. And
it's wild. Like if you walk into this room, you got to respray and come back in before you come into this room. And like they had this oven. It was like a chain grill actually, and they were cooking. That's what they cooked their burgers in. But like one room, it was in 2 rooms. And like they put it in raw in one room, and it went through the wall and came out cooked on the other side. So it was like 2 different sets of rules. I'm like,
yeah,
it's the same piece of equipment. I was like, and I got to work on both sides of it. So I'm like, I got to keep like doing all this crap. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm like, this can come out of warranty and I can go away.
Yeah, most of my facilities I have racks or compressor rooms that are separate of the actual facility, usually with their own entrances and everything like that. So I have very little equipment that I actually need to physically go and service. So I can do a lot of that without entering any of those sort of spaces. But yeah, once you get into all that stuff, it becomes a pain. Sometimes I've got some spots where you got to wear 2 or 3 smocks on top of each other as you go through each stage of the process.
Yeah, I do not envy guys that have to work in those environments. So when you first started, were you pretty much always the big stuff then? Or did you ever do any small stuff like, you see my little piddly stuff and you probably laugh at my little reach-ins or my little walk-ins I'm complaining about when it's a single evaporator and a walk-in cooler. You're like, yeah, that's funny.
I did a little bit of everything with the company I apprenticed under. I then went to a company and actually did a bunch of building HVAC for large-scale office towers and stuff downtown. Then I did the grocery store guys, and I helped a buddy of mine at one of his companies where we basically did all the small scale kitchen stuff, small walk-ins, prep tables. We didn't do much on the hot side, but pretty much everything cold side on a kitchen, as well as the general heating on the building. And then I went into these guys now where I work, where I specialize in the large cold storage.
Cool. So you've done a little bit of everything then.
Yeah, it's been a pretty awesome, varied career. Some stuff I loved, some stuff I didn't really care for.
I have those days. I think everybody that's in the service industry has those days. So there's some things you don't want to work on. There's some things you absolutely love to work on, but it's all part of what you got to do some days.
Exactly.
I don't get to choose what I get to work on. They're like, well, someone else can't do it, so you got to go do it. I'm like, I can't do it either. They're like, well, you'll figure it out. I'm like, great.
That's the worst when you accidentally make yourself important.
That's one of my favorite memes going around right now. It's like I woke up one day and I'm actually important. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So you're in Calgary. Nice and cold up there right now. I don't envy you for that.
Yeah. At least it's pretty cold. We got the light dusting of the snow today, so
Nice. So, let's talk about some data room stuff. I know you said you worked on data room a little bit. I don't even know what that is. I think I know what it is, like server rooms, and most of the time they just have just humongous equipment in there. You want to break down what that is for some of our listeners that may not know what a data room actually is?
it basically just preconditioning the air, setting that it needs to be at a certain temperature and a certain humidity, so you're not adding enough humidity to cause any electrical arcing inside the circuitry, but it's not too dry that it can arc. Usually it's the ones I worked on, at least, had a pressurized floor, so it blows air past all of the equipment, large set units. Usually multiple power feeds in from different areas so they don't have blackouts, backup generators.
That does not sound like anything I want to touch. I'll take most recent.
It was nice. It was always clean work and everything. You just had to be careful, because if you leaned back too far and pulled out a wire, you could knock out a communication system or a satellite system or something. So
Yeah, I wouldn't like that risk. I can be a bull in a china shop sometimes, man.
yeah, there was some neater ones later where they were designing them so the technician actually never entered any of the data space. One of the companies I worked for had a really cool Munter unit that like mounted to the back of a building inside of like what would be a trucking receiving bay. And they used enthalpy and air speeds and wet walls and a whole bunch of things to control the airspace.
Oh, that's really cool. But that was pretty wild to see. And then
Yeah, I was pretty early in my apprenticeship, so there was a lot of deer in the headlights looking at it. But when I look back at it now, it was pretty cool stuff to look at.
That's awesome. So let's see who we got in here. A few people. I'm just trying to see what's going on. So, if someone was to come and ask you your thoughts on the industry and, how they should get in it, what would you tell somebody young, maybe someone fresh out of high school or university or whatever you guys call it up there? I always say that. I'm sorry. Whatever they call it in Canada. So if someone's 18, 19 years old, they don't know what they want to be with their life, and they see, they stumble across your Instagram, they see some of the stuff you're working on. What would you tell them if they, come and ask, is this something they should do? Anything they should look out for or maybe try?
I'm really reluctant on guys that get massive into residential. There always seems to be the companies that are looking through guys and they just run through them and leave guys with a bad taste in their mouths.
Mhm.
I'd really like to see more guys get into the larger commercial side, as well as the kitchen stuff in general, the specialized stuff that you can be very valuable in not that long a period of time and make yourself a very good living.
Yeah, that's what I always tell everybody too. I'm like, you can be as specialized as you want, or you can just be as boring as you want. It's like the more you know, the more you're gonna make. So I try to tell everybody, like, you can make decent money and just work on one thing, and that's your deal. I said, but if you can get good at a lot of things, that's where the money comes into play. And my son, my oldest, both my boys work with me, but my oldest son's been doing it a little over 2.5 years, and I never thought he'd be making the money he's making now. I was like, man, it took me like 10 plus years to make that kind of money. I was kind of mad, actually.
Yeah. The other thing I tell guys is like, don't get really comfortable in your apprenticeship, because you're not learning a whole lot if you're super comfortable. And it's really sad when you see a journeyman that comes out of the program and, he's only welded pipe on a construction team for 4 years or something like that. And the poor guy's just absolutely in the weeds and he can't transfer companies because he doesn't have the very variety of skill sets. So I tell guys, don't be scared to move on. Don't be scared to ask your guy to get put on a different team or whatever you've got to do to really move your career forward.
Yeah, that was you were really fortunate, I think, where you were at. That like you said, every year you came out, they switched to a different team, doing some other stuff. So they give you a lot of variety and a lot of experience. Um, I mean, what I do is we just work on so much different stuff that you get to see it all. But that's really cool program that they're doing. Where they move you guys around. So you're pretty
Yeah,
fortunate.
it's the only place I've ever heard that did it. It was an awesome opportunity. I was really lucky to get it.
Yeah, you're not creating drones that way, man. Just little worker drones that go out and do the same thing every single day.
Yeah. And it was nice at the end of it. They just turned to you and what did you enjoy? Where would you like us to move you into as a journeyman?
Yeah, that's pretty cool too. They kind of let you, hey, I really like this. Let's do this. Or, I want to try this. And, not everybody gets that opportunity. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, I was really lucky.
So how long have you been with the company you're at now?
About a year and a half.
Sweet. So, you said you do a lot of cold storage. How big is some of your bigger facilities? I know you said some of the stuff was pretty giant. So,
my biggest one's probably about 120,000 square feet in 5 coolers. That runs on a 404 rack. And I got 9 compressors on that rack of different sizes.
How much gas that thing hold?
That one holds just shy of 2,000 pounds.
Whew, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and that one was a leaker when I got it last year. So we just finally got that thing tight about 6 months ago.
So you said the food production. So are they actually making the food in there? So it's refrigerated rooms and coolers, or are the rooms producing it? So the one I did, they had hoods that had makeup air. So they were conditioning the makeup air coming in. Then they had, big giant evaporators cooling the room down. What temperature do those rooms run?
Most of our rooms are between about 36 to 38 for the food production area. Okay. And then we're about 34 for the actual food storage. So we consider storage if it stops, and it stops its movement for more than an hour in the production day.
That's cool. So how many facilities do you have that you take care of? Do you just do a few, or do you do pretty much everywhere they send you?
I have 5 that are my main ones that I take care of. Most of those sites require at least a visit every quarter, if not a visit every 2 weeks. And then there's probably another 200 contracts the company has that I could jump into on a service call if needed, but they're not mainly where I spend my time.
Nice. So you do a lot of PM work, and then pretty much?
Yeah.
Nice. How do you PM? What do you do on a PM on a rack that holds 9 compressors and 2,000 pounds of 404?
We're going to do a full leak check. That rack takes me 10 hours to do a leak check on that facility. So that'll happen at least every quarter. We'll do oil changes every year. I'll do superheats on all systems and all compressors at least every quarter. Then you run into general maintenance. You got to do visual inspections on all of your fans. You've got to test run all your fans, test run all your defrosts, make sure all your hot gas valves are functioning like they're supposed to, reversing valves, make sure all your condenser fans are operating. Up here, we've got whole back valves and split condensers. So you're checking all of that stuff going into a season or coming out of a season. Oil levels. Yeah, there's a fair bit to go on to do all the basic checks.
Nice. That sounds like it's several weeks for a PM then for that one facility.
Yeah, we just got a new facility, and I did my initial assessment, and that took 2 weeks to do the assessment, and I've got another week and a half worth of work that came out of that assessment above the maintenance.
Holy smokes, man. That's a lot going on.
Yeah, that facility's over 75 pieces of equipment.
That's cool, man. I always, I watch a lot of guys that do, what you do. I follow you and like Kevin Compass and some of those guys, some of the stuff they do. And I'm like, I'd love to learn that, but I'm like, I don't want to start back over. Like, I don't want to start beginning. Like, I'm so far into what I do now that, there's days where it's not challenging.
It's hard to make a U-turn in this career. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm past the point where I get like, I'll do it, justify doing it. So, Mechanical Environments has a question. They want to know what your go-to leak detector for a rack leak check is.
Inficon Stratus is what I'm running right now.
Nice.
I loved H10s when I started. The quality just went down to a point I couldn't use them, and I used Inficon since then. I've had 3 or 4. I have the ultrasonic. I got the Stratus when it came out.
I know Matt and Megan with Mechanical Environments. I know they're a huge fan of the ultrasonic, the little microphone. I know they love that. They love that. They were talking about that last year at AHR. But I haven't checked one out. I thought about getting one, but like my refrigeration goes through spurts. Like right now, I got a pretty good refrigeration guy working, so I only go out when needed. So like in my role, I kind of get bounced around to what the trouble spot is. It's like right now I'm doing this particular brand. I may change this brand or it may go to refrigeration based on the load or what we're seeing. But I'm in the market for a new leak detector, and I thought about getting the Inficon. I thought about getting the that ultrasonic one where you just listen, and I thought it'd be cool to try.
I really like the ppm display on the Stratus. When you're dealing with a rack, there's so many pipes. It's really hard to kind of just sit and pinpoint and figure out where your leak's coming from. And the fact that number rises and decreases as you get closer and further away, it does make a leak check on something like a rack a lot easier for me.
Oh, I bet, and then you get the different cartridges. Like I could use that for, HC. I could use that for I get different cartridges or insert for it, and I can use it for R290, R600, and that's really a huge selling point for that for me. Because right now I just use for that kind of stuff. I think they call it the gas mace, the little yellow one, and it's all right, man, but it can't pinpoint crap. It gets you in a general area, and then you're in there bubbles and going to town.
Well, I don't know if you're supposed to, but another big thing for me that I love is it charges off of a USB B plug, not the Type C, but so if you've got a battery bank for a cell phone and you don't plug in your leak detector the night before, you can actually plug that in, put it in your pocket, and still go around and leak check rather than have it tethered to the wall for the first hour of the day.
That's a pretty good selling point. Does it have a battery readout on the display? Tells you how low it's getting or anything?
Yeah, just the usual 3 bars.
Okay. Yeah, because right now my normal go-to when I'm not doing HC stuff is the Philips, I think DR82. And that thing, man, I won't charge that thing for 3 months, and I grab it and it's still full. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah, I don't usually have mine fail tons. I'm pretty good for, do a leak check and then leave it plugged in for the rest of the day. So I've only really been caught once. The worst is minus 40, and it just rips power out of any battery. So leave it in the truck and you forget about it, and then you go to leak check.
Yeah, minus 40s for the birds, dude. I don't know how you guys do that up there. Get used to it.
That's why I do refrigeration, so I can hide inside. I'm not standing on rooftops. I'm too weak.
Well, people I don't wear a coat, and generally I don't wear a coat because I work in some pretty nasty environments, and I'm scared of what's going to crawl in my coat, and I don't want it to come home with me.
Yeah, fair point.
So, and I work in a lot of coolers, so I'm just kind of I can handle a cooler all day with no jacket, but I can do a freezer down to a certain point for a while, but it's cold here now. It's going to snow. We're going to be in the teens, and I won't wear a coat. People just think I'm crazy. I'm like, this ain't cold yet. I mean, I'm just going in and out of the truck to the gas station or to the store. I don't need a coat.
Yeah, you just need a decent hoodie to keep you warm for those 2 minutes.
Yeah, I generally don't tell people why I don't wear a coat because people freak out. Then they want to know where you work at and everything else. So I can't give out those secrets. I'll get in trouble.
Yeah, I did that. Me and a couple buddies went to Vegas to one of those -5 bars, and all the guys from Texas were freaking out at the fact that we were just sitting in there in t-shirts.
Oh, yeah, where you can rent the coat and stuff and just sit there at the ice bar or whatever. We thought about doing that. We went to Vegas for AHR, but we didn't end up not doing it. We ended up being too hungover to do pretty much anything besides the show. That's funny. Are you there? Uh-oh. Oh, it looked like you froze. You're good. You're good. So Hudson wants to know, how much does an experienced rack tech in your area make?
A rack take in my area could probably, you're easy in the $100,000 range for a year.
Nice. That's pretty decent, man. It's pretty decent. So Otis says -10 to -30 is a thing in his area. I think he's up north somewhere in I can't remember. He's up north. He's close. He's not too far. I think he's Montana somewhere.
Yeah, he'd be pretty close to the same sort of temperatures we're getting.
Nice. What's the cold plays havoc down here, but I can only imagine, you hinted a little bit about it, split condensers, hold back valves. Like that's a whole different world when it comes to cold temperature, because I mean, once you get below a certain temperature, it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, you can shut the fans off, you can have headmasters, but you still can't generate enough pressure to run your systems.
Yeah, when we're running into -40, we're probably bypassing 80% of the total refrigerant away from the condenser. It's coming off the compressors and going straight into the receiver just to try and maintain that pressure for us.
Nice. That's a whole different ball game, man.
Yeah, we need 20+% more gas in the winter to run a lot of our systems. So you've got much bigger receivers up here than you'd have in a place with a lower temperature range. Because our operating range we're designing for is like from -40 Fahrenheit to 120 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so I ran some issue sizes some equipment here because they sized it a little too aggressive, and it was about a size and a half too big for a walk-in cooler in the winter. And like dude, I played hell with it, man. Like I lost my shit because like I didn't size it. Like we paid for a service for someone to size it for me and tell me what I need, and they oversized it. They sized it for 100-degree ambient in the summer, which if I get 100 degrees, it's pretty rare. I mean, it may do it a couple of days, but generally it's not enough to you need to size for 100 degrees. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it got cold, and this thing would not run. I ended up just cycling both fans off. I had a headmaster on it, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to set this up, but this is the only way I can get the run. And it's just a headache.
Yeah, you definitely have to put the time in and get your stuff set up for the winter, or you're running around.
Yeah. So Otis said he's in South Dakota. I knew he was somewhere up north. So, and then he says for his applications, generally headmaster or fan cycling work there. And generally a headmaster works for me as long as someone's charged it right. I've got some guys that don't know what a headmaster is, man, and they'll charge it. They'll fix a leak in July or August, and then October rolls around, and all of a sudden the customer's calling in the morning, and hey, it's 50 degrees in our walk-in cooler, and then by the time you get there in the afternoon, it's back down to 37, and no one can figure it out. I'm like, dude, what happens at night in October? It gets cold. I'm like, it's not rocket science. Figure it out. I go back and look at the history, and sure enough, oh yeah, we were here in July, fixed a leak, and he put this much refrigerant in there. Let me put a 20% more, see what happens. Oh look, it ran perfect.
Yeah, I always catch the other side of it where guys misdiagnose it as a leak and then put an extra in, and then August comes and she popping off high head.
Yeah, she's just taking over everywhere. I can see that happening, being a huge issue.
Yeah, it's not. They're fairly easy to diagnose when you get into the field. It's just hot, warm, cold. If it's not those three things coming out of those lines, then you got problems with your headmaster.
So, like, what kind of controls are you guys running on those racks? Are they Emerson systems, or what are they?
Yeah, most common's the E2. We're starting to see some E3s come in.
Okay.
I have one Danfoss, and then I do have one of my facilities where it is an all-conventional system, but it's using a multi-pass condenser. Nice. So I've got 9 systems running through one condenser.
Nice. I always see those controls, and I'm like, I just want to start pushing buttons and see what I get into, because I watch too many YouTube videos. I'm like, oh, I can figure this out.
It's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
Actually, Copeland now has a digital sim. So for the E3, you can go on their website and you can basically build a completely virtual system and then just go play with it.
Now I know what I'm going to do when I'm killing time. That's cool. Let's see what we got going on here. I'm just scrolling through the chat, see if I missed anything. No, we're good. So, ammonia. How long did you work on ammonia? Because I hear people say like ammonia techs are like a special breed of people who can do ammonia. Like it's just something about them. They're just different.
So I did it for 7 or 8 months, and the larger half of my company is all ammonia guys. We're probably 2 ammonia for every DX refrigeration guy, and they're definitely a different breed. Things aren't quite as important in ammonia, which is kind of nice. You don't have to do recoveries. You don't have to do as deep a vacuum. Leak checking's a lot easier.
Oh, that's wild, man. I don't know. I just see horror stories, and that's all you see on the internet is horror stories. But just it seems wild to me. But I don't work on it, so it's just like everything else. You don't work on it, it's gonna seem wild to you.
Yeah, and for how dangerous a product it is, there's not a lot of incidents that you see around it. So these guys are obviously very aware of what they're working with, and
Yeah, I think the fear just comes from not having an experience and knowledge on it, and you just fear the worst. Just normal stuff.
that's common. I hear a lot of that with CO2 the way we're going. And I love where everybody points out that, the CO2 system's high side's operating at 1200 psi and everybody's scared, but you'll drive around with a 2000 psi nitrogen bottle in your truck all day.
Well, it's the same thing I deal with. People are like, "Oh, A2Ls." I'm like, dude, I've got propane. I'm like, I'm in a kitchen where there's open flames and I've got coolers everywhere full of propane. I'm like, what are you worried about?
Yeah.
I'm like, I had a video one day where I had a system that was flat and I couldn't find the leak. And I filled it up and I pressurized with nitrogen to try to push it through so I could find it somewhere, and it ended up blowing the line. And it was on the evaporator. And I had the evaporator cover off, and I opened the door, and it like propane and nitrogen is rolling out. And I look over, and there's a fryer next to it, and then there's a grill over here. And I just like look at it and close the door and just walk away. And people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, you're gonna burn the place down." I'm like, dude, if that thing catches, it's like 3 to 4 ounces, dude. It's gonna go out, dude. It's like it's almost as much gas as in your lighter. Chill out.
And once you become familiar with the products and the processes, it all becomes normal. It doesn't seem as scary anymore.
Oh yeah.
I remember being an apprentice and pulling out the old condenser packs that were underneath like a Coke fridge, where they have the lines all coiled in the back.
Yeah.
I pulled it out and heard, I'm like, panic, put it back. Like, that'll fix it. Now it's like, that's ruined. All right, let's figure out where the welding torch is.
Yeah. That's wild. The R290 thing, when I first started doing it, I was freaked out about it, but now I absolutely love it. You talk about ammonia, like you don't have to reclaim. The same thing with this. Like, oh, I'm under a hood. I just cut a line and like walk off for a minute. I'm like, just chill out, let the hood suck that out. I'm like, it's no big deal.
We saw 290 going into all of our like deli fridges and deli tables and all this stuff, and the amount of abuse you could put it through compared to some of the other refrigerants. Like, you go in and there's just that paper from the cut meat just wedged right against the condenser. The system's 1,000,000 degrees. You pull the paper off and it runs perfectly fine.
Oh yeah, man, it takes some abuse, dude. Propane is a really great refrigerant in my opinion. People will say, "Oh, it's heating compressors." No, it's just those are just cheap compressors. It has nothing to do with the gas that's in it. But it's like, dude, that stuff just works. Like you said, that condenser gets dirty, you clean it, and it's like, oh, it's down temperature already. All right. Just get people over the fact of first thing you want to do is tap a system. It's just the normal stuff guys want to do. So, but once they get past that, it's not bad at all. I try to show everybody how to do non-invasive testing on them, and when I get a guy with me, I walk them through it, and hopefully they learn, and we'll see. You know how it is.
Yeah.
What's up, Adrian? We've got Adrian from Reliable HVACR in here. We were talking earlier about some stuff coming up. Hopefully I get to hang out with him at the HVAC Tactical Awards and at AHR at some point. Yeah, I hear you're not going to go this year. You're going to take a year off from HVAC Tactical and the AHR. So we'll see you next year, hopefully. But
yeah, no, I'll make next year. I just got a family wedding in England this year, so that's going to gobble up a lot of cash. So
is that a destination wedding or do they live there?
They live there.
Okay. I want to make sure, people are like, oh, I'm going to get married here, and if you want to come, you have to come. I'm like, I can see them living there. I can understand that. But like, if they lived in your area and said, "Oh, we're gonna get married in England, and if you want to come, you gotta come," I'd be like, "I'm not coming."
Yeah, he's a friend of a friend that I've known since he was like 8. So
nice. Well,
talked to him probably once a week since he was 8. So I kind of have to go.
That's cool.
But yeah, there's nothing wrong with destination weddings. That's what I did
Is
back
it?
in the day.
I was too poor, man. I was young, had 2 kids, 21 years old, 22 years old. It was cheap and dirty. That was my wedding, man.
Yeah, I was 21 years old. It was $200 over the package, and my in-laws were paying for the honeymoon, which we just used as the trip down there.
Nice, nice.
But it wasn't one of these like $20,000 resort weddings, that was for sure.
Hey, to each his own, man. My kids, I don't know what they're going to do for weddings. My daughter's never talked about it. My oldest son, he's getting married at the courthouse, so I don't have to pay for that one either. So don't bother me one bit. The money he makes, he can pay for his own damn weddings. But I'm gonna tell him anyways.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for a piece of paper, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So you talked about rack guys, just grocery store guys. Just it's a different breed. It's you gotta you had a family, so you just it wasn't for you. I mean, I get that. You see these guys that are working 24 hours straight, 30 hours straight. You get in a situation where this thing's got $100,000 worth of product in it, and it can't be down, or you got to get it fixed. I mean, you're just pretty much there till it's fixed. That's a
Yep.
different kind of environment. How long did you do that kind of stuff?
Probably about 8 years total.
Choo. That'll make you old fast, won't it?
Yeah, you definitely have to thrive on the stress. The way I said it is like when my apprentices were coming up, that you got to have the biggest ego in the place, because you got to walk in the door and you're gonna fix it no matter what. You're the guy they need.
That's wild, man. I see these guys doing this stuff. I'm like, I don't even understand how you guys are doing this, but more power to you.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it again. I'm 40 now, and yeah, that'd probably just kill me to try and do 60, 80-hour weeks just to try and get projects done.
I run about 50 to 55 is like my comfort zone, and I leave super early in the morning, so I still get home at a decent time. If I can get into a restaurant or a school or someplace at 6 in the morning, I'll get in there at 6 in the morning. That's just how I roll, because I'd rather be in there early when no one's in there. And the way it works for me, if I generally calls about an hour, hour and a half, I can get 2 of those first AM calls technically done. Generally before some other guys get 1 done. So those first AM calls in the restaurant world are gold. I told them, I was like, man, we could probably charge a premium for first AM calls in these restaurants. These people would probably pay it.
Yeah, because it dictates whether their day is going to work or not.
Well, and you're just in their way, man. Like, I guess some of these places will open at 10:30 and they don't come in until 10. I'm like, are you serious? And you want me to fix this before 10:30? I'm like, I got a half hour. I got guys kicking me. I'm like, this ain't gonna work. Like, either you're gonna have to come in early and let me in, give me a key, give me a card or something, dude, because this ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the grocery store stuff was you just couldn't do work with the general public in the area, or you'd have to stock. Like if you had 25 doors, lost it.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, so you had 25 doors down in a freezer row. That's a lot of stock they got to pull out of that area so you can clean it, wash it, get it ready, check everything, and then put it all back in again. So you end up finding that at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you're going to be working at 11 o'clock when they close.
Yeah, I'm always amazed. I'll go to a grocery store and I'll see like a big section empty. And I'm like, oh boy, someone's having a bad day. So Total Tech. I had to figure out who this guy is. He wants to know if you're forklift certified, though.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. One of these days, I will figure out who this dude is. But until then, I will keep sharing his comments.
I'm forklift, I'm fork truck, and I'm power electric pallet jack certified.
Nice. All right, man. We are getting close to the end here. I do want you to go ahead and give a shout out for your social media so people can go out and follow you and they can follow along and, what you do and see the stuff you do, because you do some really cool stuff out there. I always enjoy watching everybody else work, like the passion, the pride. If these people are willing to show off what they do online, it just means that they actually have pride and passion in what they do. And that's really cool when people do that. So where can everybody find you that you want them to find you anyways?
most of what I do is on Instagram at Ice Master Ty. It kicks to Facebook. It's the same stuff I put on Instagram. And I'm trying to do some things on YouTube, but I haven't really got around to it. Most of what I do is usually pretty quick highlights of my day.
Yeah, short form stuff, man. Just put up a bunch of shorts, man. If people make money off shorts on YouTube, I try to do it, and like I'll get good, and then I'll fall off. And one of my goals this year is to do more long format. So I spent like 4 hours today editing a 20-minute video. I feel like an absolute idiot.
But yeah, I always forget to set everything up. I get busy, get going, and when I look there, I'm like, I didn't take a single picture today. Never mind enough video to make a long form.
Dude, and that's my thing. Like, I'll start recording when I first get there, like what I'm doing, and I just get like wrapped up in it, and like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I fixed it, and I didn't take any videos or pictures. Oh, this is pointless. So my kids did get me one of those Insta360 wearable cameras that you put on your shirt. So I'm gonna start with that. And I tried it this weekend on a call, and I didn't have it in the right spot. So I got to try to figure out the right spot to get the angle. But I think I'm gonna start doing that and maybe do some long form stuff out of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do a bit of a tutorial. I got a big rack oil change coming up, and that's kind of neat because you're isolating every step of the system. So should be able to do a little something with that, I hope.
I'll be down to watch that one, man, because I was going to ask you, how do you change the oil? And I know you can isolate, each compressor, but then you got oil separators and all kinds of stuff you got to do. I mean, it'd be cool to see.
It's not terrible. You just isolate each compressor as you go along, and you don't connect the oil system, so it's still rejecting oil. And then you do the whole oil collection last thing.
See, you make it sound easy.
So it's unfortunately, once you start, you can't stop. If it takes you 6 hours or takes you 16, you got to do it.
Nice. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know it is New Year's Day. You said you were on call, so hopefully you didn't work today. Did you get called out today?
No, we pretty much don't get any on-call calls. It's pretty nice. Nope.
Man, dude, I wish I was me. It's the holidays seem worse because everyone wants to go out to eat around the holidays, and it's just like they just bombard you. Like, we'll be slow for a couple weeks coming into the first year, but then everybody start ramping up for Valentine's Day, and it's just all hell's going to break loose.
Yeah.
That's the restaurant world for you. So, Ice Master _
Ty. Probably like 80% of the company's business is all HVAC. So we're.
See, I do like 0.1% HVAC. Everything else is refrigeration and cooking. I don't mind the HVAC. I've done plenty of rooftop changeouts, rooftop units. We've got one concept that we do their PMs, and 3 out of 5 stores have split systems. One are all in the basement. They're pretty easy. And then we have some that are like 16 feet in an open ceiling. So you got to have like a 16 or 18 foot ladder to get up there to them. And it's just a nightmare. But I let the skinny guys do that. So, all right, man. Well, I'm going to call tonight. I am wore out, but I appreciate you coming on. I will tag you and all this stuff. And I think that's it. So thanks again for coming on, Ty, and have a good night, man.
Thanks for having me. It was great talk.
Yep. See ya. If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.